Hey there YouTube, this is SGM4306 back with another review. This time we're taking a look at another one of these really neat portable Bluetooth mini thermal printers, as it obviously says right there. And I'm just going to pull it out real quick and we'll actually go through some of these specifications. So this is the M80 model here, and just going to quickly pull out the printer itself so you guys can take a look at it. And here it is. So basic specifications, it uses 80mm wide like thermal kind of receipt paper, I believe it is. It has a 2000 milliamp hour battery, so it's actually pretty chunky for something like this, so this should last quite a while. And it's capable of actually printing at 90mm per second, which is pretty speedy. We'll do a few print demos. I'll type up some text and print out some pictures, etc., and see just how well it prints, what the uniformity is, what the print speed is. But this would actually be pretty good for if you're running your own inventory system or have a small business and need to print out receipts. Especially if you're like standing around, you're not necessarily near a cash register. This is perfect because it's portable. It just connects to any phone, and there's a application that's included on the included CD-ROM that you can load an application on your phone, open it up, and it gives you quite a number of options on what you can print basically. This can also connect wirelessly or even wired over the USB to a like a laptop or a computer and use this as a printer. It'll just show up once you install the drivers as an external printer, and you can send documents to it. Albeit, obviously the page size is limited to 80mm wide. Okay, so I'm gonna actually go through what's included basically, and we have a little manual here. It basically just has specifications, how to generally use this, how to set up the Bluetooth on different platforms like Windows or iOS or Android, etc., There's a included AC adapter, and this guy actually runs on, let's see, 9 volts and 1.5 amps. That seems kind of like a lot of power, but actually thermal printers in general, they tend to use a lot of current while they're printing because it's basically a resistive thermal element that it's heating up the paper. It does so pretty quickly, but that still consumes quite a bit of current. So that's why this guy is equipped with a pretty beefy battery and a beefy supply as well, and this will charge this up. It's just a standard kind of DC mini jack here. Additionally, it comes with a mini USB cable, and that's obviously for hooking this up to your computer. There's a COM port as well as a USB port, so you can actually send it. I'm guessing the COM port's for sending it serial commands, so that's actually interesting. I'd like to see if I can hook an Arduino up to this or something and send it serial commands. Anyway, yeah, the full model number is IMP005-BK, and yeah, CE rated, good to go. Other than that, we have the included driver and Android application that I downloaded it from this disk onto my computer and then installed it. One thing that I have to note is you have to actually enable installing from sources other than the Google Play Store on Android. So once I enabled that, it allowed me to install the app. So nothing painful about that. It installed pretty easily. Additionally, it came with a roll of test paper, and this is just kind of normal receipt paper. It looks like kind of glossy, and it just comes on this cardboard roll here. And to just set it up, you'll see that there's this roller here and then like a gear, and that's how it engages the feed system. So you just want to align this kind of towards the top and then press down, and it should lock it in. Just make sure that it's aligned, obviously, kind of with the teeth, so that it closes properly. The battery here is pretty chunky. and it is a little bit hard to get out. There we go, which is why it includes this this fabric string to kind of pull. Just has 3 contacts. It's just a lithium polymer, I'm guessing. 7.4 volts, so it requires a higher voltage as well to drive this. So we'll just put that back in. Now, one thing that pretty much all printers do is if you hold the feed button while powering it on, it'll print out a test report showing that the printer works and what the specifications are. So we're just going to do that holding feed and then hold power on until it actually powers on. And then once you release, it just keeps going. So this actually has a dedicated controller on board that has a full character set. It has like all the everything that it could possibly print on it. So that's actually neat. It has a QR code. You guys can scan that if you're interested. It'll probably just take you to the sales page or something. Anyway, yeah, plenty of detail stored in the ROM here, including what the firmware version is, when it was released. Yeah, there's a lot of information here. You can see here print with 576 dots or pixels basically per line. That's pretty high resolution actually. So yeah, there's a lot of information stored in this ROM in terms of like different languages. I guess you can select these are hex addresses for hexadecimal commands if you're controlling it serially, and full character sets. And you can see even at the smallest font, it's really high resolution. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. It's pretty uniform. Sometimes on thermal printers, the cheaper ones namely, you'll get like spotting where it'll like almost miss certain areas. You can see it gets a little lighter depending on what character it's printing. Like these equal signs are a little bit fainter maybe, but overall it's pretty good. There's no major blotchiness or anything to the image. It's pretty uniform. It even gives you the Bluetooth address. That's really nice. And there we go. That was just its power on test. Now I think actually what's more interesting is let's actually open the app. I'll show you guys what it looks like, and we'll try to get connected and print some test things out. So this is the actual application. Sorry for the glare there. But anyway, Bluetooth demo, it just says. You can actually type in text or all these other features. You can send graphics. You can send pictures even from the camera. That's actually interesting. You can print tests, print forms. You can actually configure QR codes for it to print and then just select just any type of image. And you can actually take a picture within the app itself. That's interesting. So here we're going to select 80 millimeters because it's obviously 80 millimeters. Okay, so we're going to actually search for the printer itself. And here we had noted the address actually ends in 48. So here's like every device I've ever connected over Bluetooth, but it's this guy here. So we're just going to connect, and you can see it printed out, congratulations, etc., etc. You've connected. Just going to feed it a bit and then rip that off. So let's type in a short little message. Hello, world, exclamation point. Okay. So yeah, we can just repeatedly send that. And that's quick. Like, as soon as you print it, it basically, or as soon as you click the send button, it basically prints. And there we go. Hello world, hello world, hello world. Yeah, so that works great. Let's just delete that. Let's actually do a picture. So to change the picture, you just tap on the little image there, and you can just do gallery. And so here I have my logo. I kind of have to print that. Okay, so it shows you the logo now that I just selected, and we are going to do print picture. So there, printed out pretty fast. Now you'll see kind of one of the shortcomings is if you're printing out large blocks of black, you do kind of get these kind of fading. It doesn't really happen during normal text, but when you're printing out something that has like a long line, you can see the vertical lines are nice and crisp, but the horizontal ones where it's heating up a large amount of the actual image element, the heater that it uses to draw the image on the paper, essentially, you can see it starts to fade a bit. Obviously, you're not going to be printing out generally large black boxes like this, so this is sort of a worst case scenario. But other than that, everything's well defined. The resolution's pretty good too. You could see some horizontal lines from when it advances the paper. Let's actually select a picture that I took with the camera. So I took a couple of pictures here. I took one in black and white and one in color. I mean, it's not really that much color. It's just a picture of the printer itself on kind of a white background. But let's just see how it responds, if it'll do grayscale or not. Okay, let's just see the other image. If there's any difference in that. Scroll up, print picture. Okay. So obviously that is very much more apparent. These are pretty much identical looking, so it doesn't really matter whether your source image is grayscale or not. It will always just do one bit. So there's no shades of gray. It doesn't do anything like stippling or anything like that to approximate grayscale. So whatever you take an image of, it's just going to turn it into just black and white pixels. So you lose a lot of details. So this isn't ideal, obviously, for printing pictures, unless if they're very simple, like kind of 8-bit graphics sort of things. But yeah, not that anyone expected. I did not expect this to be like a photo printer. It's just neat that they have that functionality. And pretty much any document that you're going to print on this, which is its main target purpose, you're only going to be printing text generally, and it works perfectly for text. Perfectly legible, and yet it doesn't smear off. There's no ink. It's the paper itself that, when heated, it makes the image. So this is sort of ideal for, like you'd expect, printing receipts and stuff like that. Or this could also be used for printing out like to-do lists or like shopping lists, anything like that, that you just need some disposable, quick way of printing out a lot of information without having to write it all down. I'm actually pretty impressed with the printing. Obviously, not necessarily for images, but text is perfect, nice and crisp. I really like that. So anyway, we'll just switch this guy off. And I wanted to actually see about popping this guy open, see exactly what is inside, what the hardware quality is like. From the outside, it feels actually pretty sturdy. The plastic is definitely not cheap. I don't know how well this would survive if you dropped it. Then again, you probably don't want to be dropping printers on the ground. But anyway, we'll just pop this open, pull the battery out. There's just 2 screws on here. Let me adjust the camera down. So there's 2 screws, and they're just Phillips. And there should be a clasp on the top, I'm guessing, or possibly some screws under the door here. Nope, there's screws. So hopefully there's a catch or something. There we go. Yeah, I had to open the door actually. It was preventing it from opening. And then there's just some catches on there. So once we open it, remove this very carefully. So yeah, there's a front kind of button board for all the keys and the LEDs for the indicators. And I'm not going to remove that. It's just going to be some tactile buttons and some surface mount LEDs on the other side. Very nice sort of yellowish orange solder mask. Interesting. I Never really done anything besides blue, green, and black PCBs, so that's pretty interesting. Here's the actual mainboard itself, and there's an unpopulated connector right here. That could be for actually testing, because it looks like it kind of goes over to the ribbon, so that might actually be, they might have a bed of nails for testing or programming, something like that. You can see a single tiny little, like a stepper motor here, and this is, it looks like there's 4 wires, so yeah, definitely a stepper motor. That's what actually advances the paper. That's pretty interesting, that how small it is, because the paper came out pretty quick. So it definitely has some speed. There might be a gearbox inside here to speed it up. Anyway, the ribbon for both the motor, you can see the larger traces on here, as well as for the actual print head. And the print head is this actually interesting kind of, it's like silicone and then metal. So obviously it's mounted to the metal back frame for like heat sinking, so that when it prints, after it turns off the pixel, it needs to cool down that kind of element, that heating element. Otherwise, you'll get streaking vertically. So it needs to cool it down pretty rapidly. So that's kind of why this entire thing is made of metal to act as a heat sink. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting. This ribbon is sort of bifurcated, with different segments going off. It's actually pretty interesting. Anyway, and you can see there's some compliance in the mount of that, so that when you go to load the paper, it presses it flat against the paper, and it applies even pressure because there's more than one spring. We have some kind of, I'm guessing this is a power converter, because there's a tantalum cap next to it and a few inductors. So it's probably a switching regulator, to generate either the volt, maybe this is at 7.4 volts, so it probably runs the head at that voltage, and it probably has to switch, step the 7.4 volts down, for the logic side of things. So it probably runs either 5 volts or 3.3 volts. Here you can see there's actually a chip. If I can maybe get in closer, it's a SiPec SP3232, and you can see it goes right over to this COM USB port. So I'm guessing that's either something like a some kind of level protection or screws. I'm not going to bother removing this large zip going over to the ribbon, but let's just see if I can get to the bottom, literally, of this and see what the bottom of the board looks like. It's just sort of held in by this little plastic tab, and you can very carefully lift it. There's really nothing on the bottom of the print head itself. Let's see if we can get this board off. That would probably be what's holding it in. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, so there's really not that much in here, which is good, because it means there's not much to go wrong. So anyway, this is a little crusty, but let's see what we got here. We got an ARM microprocessor. This is going to be the main chip that's pretty much doing everything. We have some kind of high wattage resistors here, and a T-SOP. That's going to be probably a motor controller, something like that. You can see there's a thermal relief pads over to the opposite plane, so that's acting as a heatsink for that chip. So yeah, that's definitely something motor related. I'm gonna guess that's related to, because it's kind of close to this side, it's probably related to driving this stepper motor. So it's probably just a stepper motor controller. We have the crystal, the main crystal for the IC. What appears to be some serial flash or serial EEPROM, probably either for configuration or maybe firmware or something like that, or possibly, actually, now I think about it, the font set might be stored externally. We have, sorry about that, we have a Bluetooth module here. It's sort of one of these all-in-one sub-modules with the castellated pins, and this will be just a serial connection. Interesting that they break out all the pads to a larger module, so perhaps they have secondary supply in case this model runs out and they run out of stock. They can switch to another module. We have what appears to be maybe some kind of buffering or something. This is actually in pretty close proximity to this front ribbon cable. We have the actual battery connection pads. Some more switching regulator goodness. That's a big diode. And yeah, that's kind of pretty much it. Yeah, there's really not much to these. As I said, I want to keep things as simple as possible. Okay, so we're all back together, and just to make sure it still turns on, not that I would expect it not to, it actually does detect if there's no paper inserted. Yeah, there must be. Yeah, you can see right in that corner, I just missed it before. There's actually an optical sensor. It's an IR sensor. So it can tell if there's no paper. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, there you go. Detects it right away. So we're just going to shut that off. And there you go. So yeah, overall I'm actually pretty impressed with these thermal printers. This is actually even smaller than the previous model that I reviewed. And feature-wise, it seems to be pretty capable. Prints, 80mm, pretty wide receipt paper. This is, I believe, standard size to what you receive, like if you go to a supermarket or a store. So yeah, other than that, if you guys are interested, if you run a small business or want to keep your own inventory system sort of thing going on, or even just to print out to-do lists and that kind of stuff and reminders, you can actually check this guy out. I'll have links down below. I'll also have a discount code, so if you use the code Losrecal, I believe it's pronounced, 005, it's down below, you can receive 10% off your order. So, and this will be valid until June 2020, so as long as you order before then and you use that discount code, you can get 10% off this guy. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick look and teardown of this pretty interesting Bluetooth printer, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.